There was a just horrific mid-air collision last night outside of Reagan National, DCA. There were no survivors. The collision was between a passenger jet coming in from Wichita and an Army helicopter. As we're coming on here, I believe still happening in the Brady briefing room is Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talking about this. I want to play one clip from the president talking about what he thinks was the reason that this crash happened.
They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine?
So I guess it's black people and the people with mental health problems that caused this. He went on to say that Pete Buttigieg was a disaster who's just got a good line of bullshit. And then he followed up that by saying, now we mourn and we pray. So thoughts on the president's reaction to this tragedy?
I mean, I have two sort of buckets of thoughts, Tim. I mean, the idea of blaming this crash on DEI before there's an investigation and then handing the mic to a real world Boston castmate turned Fox News host turned transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, who then hands the mic over to Fox News weekend anchor turned Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is a lot. It's a lot for me to.
You don't feel like that was a meritocracy there, having two reality show stars and one weekend host being able to like point people for responding to this? You don't think that reflects? And they are all white males, so I mean, they had to overcome the obstacles of the DEI to get to the job.
They did. They succeeded somehow in spite of all the obstacles in front of them. So that was one bucket of frustration. And then Tim, I just started to think about like, what would Obama have done? What would George Bush have done? What would Reagan have done in a moment like this? I think you go out and give a speech that's thoughtful and that is about the victims and mourning and this sort of like collective wound that the nation is experiencing because of this tragedy. I don't think any president in history would go out and do like a freewheeling press conference, even if they did have command of the facts. But it's just, this is like the Trump era, right? Like, it used to be you didn't want to own bad stories or disasters, and now he's just puts himself in the middle of everything. And it's an interesting, I guess it's just how communications is now.
I mean, not really. And it's how communications is for Trump, I guess.
Not for Biden, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's another challenge.
But maybe there's value to this, right? You are commanding, like you're owning every story. You have the attention on you at all times. Like it goes against my instincts, but I'm wondering, I don't know.
Maybe there's political value. I don't know. But just like from a human standpoint, it's just so atrocious. There are people many people that lost loved ones. I saw an interview last night with a local news. There's a guy waiting for his wife, hoping that she survived. Obviously, she didn't survive. I assume that there were people there who are, not white, who are minorities, who have mental health issues in their family. Like, do they really want to see the president the next day talking about his speculation that maybe it was a black lady that was in the cockpit? I just don't get that.
Yeah, no, the substance is atrocious, and that is unequivocal. There's a stylistic and sort of process point that was interesting to me that I guess what we're going to be living with for the next 4 years.
Yeah, no, obviously it's atrocious. I don't even like, what is the point? He's also not running again, I guess. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is even the political point, right? Like this is the one sort of element of all of this. Like you would think that, he also had a written statement. It was classic Trump that's talking about uniting the country. Mm-hmm. That was put
mails
there.
That in, yeah.
But like we don't even really know what happened. Like it was actually I saw this kind of right wing pilot of somebody that had been a pilot of a Black Hawk helicopter. That was the helicopter that crashed into the passenger plane. And, dude, there's like gave a very detailed list of all the things that could go wrong and how it's more challenging than you think and how there's a watch person, there's two, right? Like we know nothing, and so to go to pop off on that is pretty ridiculous. But I do think like it is Trump, but as you're saying about just kind of how things are right now, at some level, it reflects a little bit of a just kind of breakdown of our entire society that also is maybe Trump's fault. But, I saw some of our YouTube competitors out there yesterday that were blaming it on the fact that the FAA administrator got fired already and we didn't have a replaced FAA administrator, and that saying that it's Trump's fault. Democratic Congressman woman Norma Torres said that the families deserve answers because Trump gutted an aviation safety committee, which I think that was really a TSA committee. But like, again, this happened on the other side. I got into fights with Republicans back during the East Palestine train derailment, where they were like Rudy Giuliani and other people were out there talking about how Pete Buttigieg's paternity leave was to blame for this. Right. So maybe Trump is just taking advantage of like our broken society.
Well, I think he's speaking to like a really hard reality in politics in that like sometimes really bad things happen in the world and there's no rhyme or reason to it. And It makes us feel better when we can throw a conspiracy theory around the chaos or around the pain or something to explain this to ourselves, but that's not always going to be the case. And that might, this might have just been a horrible accident here. There could have been, we'll figure it out, right? But I saw the same things you did, like people blaming the air traffic controller shortage or the buyout proposal or firing the head of the TSA. And my instinct was to find that gross. And then I saw Trump this morning and I thought, I don't know, maybe I'm not built for politics anymore, Tim. Like maybe this is how it goes.
Maybe
gross is what it is.
You're kind of a softie. Yeah, I don't know. I do have to tell you, my initial instinct to be like, fuck it, blame Trump. Fuck it. Why not? Blame Trump. I mean, he blamed Newsom for the fires, and Pete, like caring for his kids in the NICU, was blamed for like everything that happened all over the country for 2 years. So why not? But, I took a couple breaths and I was like, well, we could probably just see what actually
just give
happened.
It a beat.
We could probably just see what happened. And I don't think that like my tweet or Norma Torres's tweet is really going to be the thing that
it's going to save it.
Takes Trump down.
No, you got to blue sky it.
So I think we can probably wait to see what actually happened.